You're listening to the Reconditioned podcast, and on today's episode, we're speaking all about why your genes are not your destiny. So stay tuned for all things wellness and growth.
Your personality creates your personal reality.
Authentic power is when your personality comes to serve the energy of your soul.
The truth is the body is one ecosystem. You can get to the root cause and everything goes away.
Welcome to the Reconditioned podcast, where I use my knowledge and expertise of over a decade in the wellness and transformation world to take a deep dive into what makes us thrive as humans. I'm Vaknine, leading wellness and transformation coach, and following my remission from the rheumatoid arthritis I'd had for 27 years that left me wheelchair bound by the age of 18, I created a unique coaching combination, conflating physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects of self to create true, long-lasting well-being in all senses of the word. This podcast is one of the many free resources I've created to help you achieve the same. Whether you're suffering from chronic illness, raising children in a world of conflicting information, you're an entrepreneur wanting to step into your purpose, or you simply want to feel empowered and motivated to become the best version of yourself, join me along with expert guests as we uncover the most actionable and tangible ways to recondition ourselves back to wellness. This season of Reconditioned is sponsored by Block Blue Light, the world's leading supplier of blue and artificial light blocking products, including blue light glasses and blue blocking lighting solutions. Blue light blocking products aim to alleviate digital eye strain, improve sleep, and optimize health through mitigating the harmful effects of artificial light from screens and modern lighting. For a 10% discount across the range, visit blockbluelight.co.uk and enter the code Lauren10. Thank you to Block Blue Light. Hello everyone, welcome back to the show. I've got an amazing show for you today with Thomas Olivier, who is the founder of Omnos, which is an amazing health optimization company and platform. It's basically a place where you can get genetic testing, functional testing done. But for those of you who have had functional testing done in the past with maybe functional medicine doctors, you'll know that it is not accessible. It's really difficult. First of all, you're paying a functional medicine doctor to go through them, and then you're paying a fortune to go into, if you're listening in London, Harley Street, to have these like really expensive tests done. I've done it before. It costs a fortune. It's not accessible. You can't read the results yourself. Omnos basically just cuts out the middle person, makes it totally affordable, and allows you to first of all get a genetics test where kind of then everything comes from that. Then from that they recommend which other tests you should have done based on your genetic results. But it sequences something like 70,000 genes and gives you kind of all your genetic predispositions so that you can live your life according to how you can prevent these illnesses. It's absolutely mind-blowing that we can do this. This is the field of epigenetics. If you have been listening to the show for a while, you'll know I'm obsessed with epigenetics and everything preventative health. We can prevent these illnesses, and Thomas's platform shows us exactly how to do that. It's absolutely incredible, and I don't want to talk too much more about it here because we really go into the details of it. I have linked the details in the show notes below, so you just go to omnos.me and you can get 10% discount by being a listener of the show by using the code Lauren10. And I highly recommend doing this test, especially starting with the genetics test. I'm already doing it with clients now, so they're having the test done and then bringing the results to me, and I'm helping them decipher the results and giving them kind of guidance on lifestyle, diet, things to avoid, etc., based on that. Although it is very easy it's not very easy, it is a user-friendly platform. And if you are brand new to this, then yes, you might want someone to guide you through it. You might also be able to find a way to kind of decipher the results yourself. But I'm helping clients through it because it gives them more clarity on exactly what things they need to change, what things they need to do, diet changes, nutrition, lifestyle, etc. I mean, down to for your genetic makeup, you are more suited to running than yoga, or things like that. So it's pretty amazing. So I hope you enjoy the episode. As usual, please feel free to share this episode if you know of anyone that it can impact. And as we are all looking to prevent things like cancer and diabetes and heart disease, because why would we just want to live our lives any old way, knowing that we can actually live our lives in a way that prevents whatever we are genetically predisposed to, Alzheimer's, dementia, like all these things. It's just totally amazing. So why would we not live our life that way? So share it with everyone, because it can honestly impact everyone's life. And of course, if you enjoy the show, feel free to leave a review, to contact me on Instagram to tell me what you thought about the episode. So without further ado, let's get on with the show. And here is Thomas Olivier. Based on individual DNA makeup to world-renowned athletes and C-suite executives, his innovative science-based coaching methods and his book, Cracking Your Health Code, have been aiding hundreds of people to achieve their optimum health. Thomas is also the founder and CEO of Omnos, which is an AI health optimization platform that analyzes one's genome combined with lifestyle and functional medicine tests to provide a scientifically validated dashboard of one's health with personalized and actionable recommendations. His smart health methodology is a life-transforming one with a sustainable follow-up offering long-lasting, tangible results that provide you with invaluable insights into particular areas of wellness, including nutrition, health, performance, mind, and hormones. By analyzing your genetic data, they create a prioritized set of goals just for you so you can improve your health and catch any small issues before they become big issues. So Thomas, welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Very pleased to be here.
You're very welcome. As you know, I'm a massive fan of what you do and of Omnos. And just of how revolutionary this system and this program is in terms of preventative health, because everything I speak about and I love and I'm passionate about is a whole person approach. If we're taking a whole person approach, we need to consider prevention, which is something I think we've moved away from a lot in recent years, and we kind of just wait for problems to arise. So I'd like you to take us through how Omnos works, the whole system, the platform. So everyone, for the person listening who maybe doesn't understand too much about genetics and the genetic or the epigenetic aspect of it, can get a deep understanding of what this is offering.
Yeah, sure. So, well, you sort of touched the right angle here in the sense that, we need an approach that is more holistic, right? And the system we have in place is actually an amazing one. If you have something acute, so acute medicine. By this, I mean, if you get hit by a car and you're unfortunate and you get, a virus like the COVID, and, there's amazing doctors that will be here to save your life. So that's very good. And we should be very grateful to have such system and such amazing people in place. But when it comes to other things which actually are most of the things we're dying of. So the disease of our civilization now are what we call the 4 big killers. So we're talking about mainly cancers, dementia, type 2 diabetes, and cardiovascular diseases. All of those are actually not only far from being one cause, one effect, they are multifactorial, but they're also very much lifestyle related. And the World Health Organization is saying that more than 75% of all cancer could be totally prevented by changing your lifestyle, your diet, and your environment. So that's now, they're saying this now, but it wasn't the case 10 years ago. And the understanding and the main sort of understanding is if you were going to get sick, it was mainly bad luck and you were not so much in charge of it. So, and I think the exciting bit is we know that it's not true and we've proven it very well by science, but we also understand now that when it comes to genetic predisposition, it's not because you have certain gene variants that made it predispose you to certain things, but you will necessarily develop the disease associated to it. But actually what you should be doing is be informed about those predisposition and then be empowered, equipped by what are the things I need to do, the lifestyle I should have, the mini habits I should implement to really start thinking of optimizing my health and actually prevent those things to happen, right? So it's a very much different angle, and it's more of something about planning, preventing, and also being back into the ownership of your health, where it is your health, you are responsible for it. And when it comes to multifactorial disease, you need to be a bit in control of the things you can control, right? So being informed and make informed choices. But still, it's difficult if you want to do that because you don't have a clear roadmap for yourself. Right? And this is the whole idea about Omnos, is really to try to take all of those different factors, right? And you can have thousands of them. And then for someone, it might be that the priority would be about, I don't know, anything to do with, let's say, detoxification pathway, removing toxins, because that will be their main default as a human being based on their genetic. And if they on top of that, live in a place where it's quite toxic from the start, like London, let's say, and they don't help themselves in eating a lot of things that are processed, non-organic, and also, so add more chemicals into the mix. This will be actually enough to create bigger issues in the long term. So the whole idea about Omnos is about not only looking at yourself as an individual, what you do in your lifestyle, and this is why we all start by a free self-assessment, which is questions you answer so we can understand where you're coming from, what is your type of lifestyle, if you're sedentary or quite active, if what sort of food you may eat, what sort of symptoms you may already have, and then connect the dots with things such as your genetic, because individually speaking, we're all very different. And what are your genes that predispose you to certain things, right? And then once we have those informations already, it gives already a clear roadmap on what you should be doing next, right? So because we understand you have all those genes in relation to brain health, for example, that are not optimal, like let's say stress response and anxiety, and you already have anxiety as chronic, right? And in your lifestyle, we understand that you have so many issues in terms of just your environment because it happens, right? So what can you do in terms of in your lifestyle and your environment to balance things out and make things a lot different and to actually switch off those genes to express? And this is what we're trying to achieve here. And by looking at things like hormones, we will tell you exactly what are the issues and what can cause the stress or this sort of thing. So in the big lines, this is what Omnos does, is really to help you having a very granular approach and personalized to what is the next best step for you in terms of implementing changes that count.
It's so brilliant and just kind of can, if enough people hear about it, be very life-changing to how we approach our healthcare. Because I think that we're still, there is so much awakening now in terms of people understanding that they have to take their healthcare into their own hands. But equally, it kind of depends what community you're in, maybe. I mean, some people are still not there at all and very much kind of living a life whereby they just believe that they can just keep feeding their body whatever they want and they won't be the person that happens to. And then if something does happen to them, expecting that there is a fix, a medical fix. It's much harder to cure cancer than it is to prevent it, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've been trying to cure cancer for more than 100 years and never managed to do so, in the sense that there's no real cure to cancer. We made huge progress in limiting the propagation of the disease, but there's no one direct cure to the cancer. There will never be, because it's not a one cause, one effect, right? So it's actually a multifactorial thing. Okay, so you cannot target, with something, a single cell, and say, okay, this is what you need to do here. It's a lot more complex than that. So you need to understand where all the imbalances come from, right? So you need to understand what are the imbalances that you can correct to rebalance those things and to prevent those diseases to happen. And, once you start to have a bit of a dashboard of what are your priorities, okay, where are the things that actually in your lifestyle have an influence? I would say, I don't know, if we do an organic acid test, which we call the envirotoxin test in our environment, and you're predisposed, as I said earlier, not detoxing pathways of, not detoxing optimally toxins, right? And then we realize that with this test, you have very high carb toxins in your body, very high pesticide and fertilizer, even plastic toxins, because we can see all this. test and see that your liver toxicity is very high, and you have those genes that actually will be badly influenced by those factors, that's already a really high factor for a certain type of cancer. So if you could actually pinpoint which one they are and try to remove this of your environment and have targeted actions on removing those toxins and support the detoxification pathways by the means of certain type of food like cruciferous vegetables and all those things, by supporting your liver with supplement like glutathione, for example, which is something, it's a bit of a very powerful antioxidant which will bind with those toxins and help then be removed out of your body. So all of this are very important steps, but you need to understand what are the things that could influence you to go down, wrong down the line, and then have a course of action on, by order of priority on how to do things, rather than trying to again have a one linear approach to a disease that are multifactorial. And that's the very, it's a wrong approach, but we cannot really, finger pointing at the NHS, for example. It's just the way things are set up. And they're very aware of this, actually. They're trying to make changes, right? But it's really not easy because obviously it's an old institution with the system and processes. And again, it's more on acute care, right? But you start to be quite open in looking at things where, they will be preventing because they have to. The reason is just the depth, type 2 diabetes, which is very easily preventable by changing your lifestyle, your diet, even reversible in most cases. Cost them £150 billion a year, right? Prevention is pretty much inexistent for it. Education is pretty much inexistent, but probably $1 billion per year would be enough to educate millions of people on it. So it's starting to move a bit because they realize that it's not sustainable. But as they are very busy, especially within the pandemic, with in acute medicine, I think the responsibility, and as you said again, community, comes from us. So we should not rely on a system like NHS, but we should rely on ourselves. I mean, we should rely on them when it comes to acute care, but when it comes to our health, I like to think that it's our own personality, our own, priority, and we really need to be proactive towards it. And now we live in this very exciting time where we can actually do tests at home, and this is what we do with Omnos. So you order a test, it arrives at home, and it gives you an insight of thousands of biomarkers and your genetics, and combines everything. And the algorithm, which, behind the algorithm, there's always brains. The AI is not just the machine, there's people coding the machines before. And that's the hard work of doctors, of functional medicine practitioners, nutritionists, that have worked really hard on, okay, what are the priority, this and this and this is combined, but what would be the outcome and what is the best solution to prevent this. So that has been years and years of work, and this is what we have achieved. But the whole idea is, yes, to make it very democratized in the sense that we're trying to desalinate the language of the science to make it a lot more accessible for everybody so people can understand and have a very visual, simple roadmap on what are their top priorities. And funny enough, when you it might feel like hard work to optimize your health, but actually, when you start, it's all about removing the things out of the way of your body functions, if you know what I mean. So what I mean by that is your body's ability to heal is amazing, and there's a whole mechanism, machinery that automatically, roll on itself. It's constant repair. But if there is too much things that overwhelms this ingenious system, this is where things go wrong. But if you can actually remove those things that imbalances you, then the bodies take over. So you really quickly see, by removing the most important things and balancing out the most important change that you could do, but your body does the rest. So it's not a quick fix, but it does give you quick results.
But also because it's so personalized. And that's what I love about it, because you were saying with something like cancer, there is no actual cure medically, no kind of conventional medical cure, because you can't pinpoint on, if you give the same treatment to every woman, for example, who's got breast cancer, they're all going to have a different genetic makeup. However, there are options for long-term remissions from cancer with a more holistic approach. But the easier option to that is preventing it in the first place. And what we're saying with this, and what you have created, is the option that we can totally do this and we can totally prevent most things. And it's interesting for me because since you and I have been working together, I have been working with clients on the Omnos system. And I'm encouraging everyone to get a test, because you know how obsessed I am with the whole epigenetic subject. Talk about it forever. And I think it's important for people to know. So when people are coming to me without, cancer or whatever it might be, but we're wanting to optimize health, right? So they're coming to me, the majority of my clients are kind of women in their, say 30s to 40s to 50s, where they're approaching menopause, and a whole range of things can happen and change. We can then modify what potentially could happen and what could be damaging to health as we go on by taking these preventative measures. And like you say, yes, it's work, but I always say it's a lot more hard work to have cancer than to do the work to prevent it,
A lot harder. But also is a cancer will take up to 10 years to develop, right? So
yeah,
it's all about, cancer is really when everything is going wrong. There's so many balances. There's so many things you could do, and I can give you many examples. Like if you have chronic inflammation, whatever the reason is, gut imbalances, that you don't start absorbing nutrients properly, not breaking down nutrients, and this will imbalance your hormones, and you predispose already to certain hormone imbalances. All of this takes a very long time to happen. Leaky guts, autoimmune diseases, and then down the line, cancer, right? But you can do so many things before that to stop this propagation of issues, right? So it's a bit of a cascade of unfortunate things. It's when there's a disbalance, it's a mechanism, then things down the line could start going wrong. And it can start slowly about, some imbalances in your guts and not absorbing the right nutrients, creating low-grade inflammation, and that over time will be propagating, and actually, sort of create how many hormonal imbalances that could lead to cancer. But as I said, if you know what those nutritional imbalances can be, what you're predisposed to, and then by having those information, check on those, making sure you are in the right ranges, right? So a lot we're talking about is vitamin D, but it's not the only one, right? So there's many other things, vitamin C and glutathione and all these different things I've mentioned for toxins, and your liver. But it's very hard to find without having all the informations where those imbalances coming from, right? And then once you have those information, there's also a lot of conflicts. So let me give you an example. And this is why sometimes it can be very misleading to have done one test. So let's say you do, you go and see your GP and you do one blood test, right? So a checkup. And you're being told you're low in iron. Okay, you can be low in iron, so it's a lot of people are. But you're going to start taking iron supplements, okay? But then you realize that actually nothing is moving. My iron is still low after 3 months. This is weird. But what I'm developing even worse is I feel like I'm a lot more bloated and my gut health is not optimal. And actually, I start having some hormonal issues. So, mood swing or things that I didn't have before. So, which is very strange. this, a GP will not really make connections because of the intercorrelation they might have. There will be between things. So let me explain. Because actually, if you being low in iron can come from many sources. You can be predisposed to be anemic first, or you're genetic. But then also you can have parasites in your guts that actually feed on iron. And if you make that part of the equation, if you take iron tablets, you're just going to make them stronger. So they're going to multiply. And then you're going to have this imbalance in the sense that you will have those more opportunistic bacteria than good bacteria, which means you're not going to break down nutrient properly. So then you're not going to produce things like B12 and all those things that are produced in your gut, but will affect your neurotransmitters. You're going to start feeling a bit moody and not being low level of energy. And if you're in that stage where you're premenopause, PMS, it's just going to make things a lot worse. So actually, iron should not be your course of action here. What you should be is fix your guts first and make sure you remove that parasites. And then only once this is gone, and you fix your lining of your guts, because the long term of that was leaky guts, you then can be able to look at fixing the hormones with the right nutrients balance, reestablishing those nutrients imbalances that you have accumulated, and things start to come back to normal, right? And this is what the platform does, is removing all those conflicts by looking at everything and then telling you this is the best course of action for you based on your results. Okay, so you should do this and this and this. This is the reason why, right? And now that you have done that, you retest 3 months or 6 months down the line, depending on which test. And okay, this has been back to, and we use this scoring system. Now this is back to 95%. So you're optimal here. So what is the next thing? What is the next thing, right? And this is how you start going to a journey, which is very personalized to you. And you really go on this health optimization journey, which is very exciting because you feel it. you feel really rewarded. And once you start having, and the usual journey of people I coach or people who are going on the platform is then we start influencing people around them because they make change for themselves and you just want to spread it.
Yeah.
Going back from what you explained about this community is very powerful this way, because when people start taking responsibility for themselves, we have this inner thing of being part of the tribe, right? You want to spread the word. You want to make sure that everybody does it, and this is how you can change things long term. And having with small little changes that you do individually, you can influence others to do the same. And then, without knowing, you create a movement. You create people who are a lot more proactive towards their health, and you create a prevention system. And then this is where the institution will be starting looking at that, because it works. We see less and less people for those preventable diseases into acute care. So something is working here. So anyway, this is what we're hoping for anyway. There's all research and things behind it that proves it. But it's what we do.
I'm so happy to let you know that the Recondition Your Life Academy is now open. If you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you'll know that my purpose in life is to guide women back to a place of health, happiness, vitality, and purpose. And that my 3-decade-long journey from disability to remission taught me that the only way to achieve sustainable, core-level results is by integrating the 4 aspects of self: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And that's why I've poured my heart and soul into this program. I've been developing it for 7 months, but really my whole life and everything I have come through, learnt, and taught has led me to this point. Over 12 weeks, I'll be guiding you and a sacred tribe of like-minded, high-vibe women through 12 transformational modules where you, me, and the universe will co-create the sort of life you didn't even realize you could have. We'll do this by learning how to unearth and reprogram subconscious limiting beliefs, heal your inner child, break ancestral patterning, Connect to your higher self to get to know who you truly are at a core level. Awaken your divine feminine. Master the universal laws of abundance. Get clarity on your goals. Learn the physical fundamentals to staying healthy. Be guided in a spiritual practice, and so much more that simply cannot be articulated by words alone. So if you're ready to stop making excuses and start making the changes that will move you into a life of health, happiness, peace, and clarity, just go to laurenvakninecoaching.com/recondition. As a thank you for being a podcast listener, just quote Reconditioned when you sign up, and I'll gift you a free one-to-one coaching session to show my gratitude. The cart will close in a few short weeks and spaces are limited, so make sure you get there soon. All the details are in the show notes. Now back to the episode. So I have a few questions from the things you just said. So the first one is, I mean, you spoke about the gut, and we know obviously that the gut, pretty much controls everything. Would you say that first and foremost, the thing that we need to really focus on, it usually comes down to the gut, or are there other factors at play?
Well, the gut is definitely a central thing, because, this is where when we say we eat food, you don't eat the food, you just mechanically putting in your mouth, and from your mouth to your stomach to your intestine, this is where things are being eaten and breaking down by billions of bacteria, right? So this is why it's very important, because actually all the source of energy, all the nutrients, all those things that your body needs to function is actually being manufactured in your guts, right? So this is why we say, when you have problem with your guts, and this system of sort of triage and production of all the things you need, the building blocks of you functioning as a human being, is not working, yes, that definitely can be a big problem. But then what can actually influence your gut of not working optimally? Okay, so there's also all the external factors. Okay, it can be stress, like emotional stress. Okay, because we're a human being, but we also have all those emotions, and medicine doesn't. The current medicine doesn't very take good. Doesn't implement the emotional state of someone as an impact on their functional health, so on their systemic health, I would say. But this is something that in China or in Asia, they are very much aware of it. Anyway, I'm derailing here, but it's definitely, guts are very important for that. But you can have, gut will imbalance your neurotransmitters. So there's this gut and brain axis that we start to hear more a lot about. So if you're depressive, for example, or anxious, it's a really good way to start investigating what's going on in your guts. If you don't have external trauma that could have caused this, trauma could amplify those things. But if you don't have any of those trauma, and actually you have everything to be happy around yourself and be grateful for, but it just doesn't work. This probably because of certain imbalances, right? So certain things that are not working properly in terms of assimilating them, and then you have these imbalances going on, and you don't have those neurotransmitters you need to make you happy, right? And especially if you're predisposed to those things. So if you have certain genes, like, I don't know, you like talking about MTHFR, but COMT genes as well. So it has to do with your neurotransmitters, how you're going to absorb all those B vitamins and stuff. So it's very interesting to know where you're coming from, what are your model as a human being, but then inside your body, what's working, what's not working, also to check, right? And ideally, you want to investigate the thing you know that are not working optimally. And if you know that you're predisposed to have imbalances on certain type of nutrients because of genetic predisposition, and you have physical symptoms, feeling bloated after eating a meal, for example, which is normal, but if it's you're still bloated, you wake up the day after, that's not normal. If you have not normal stool, if you, you have brain fog, all those things are indication that something is not right.
Yeah. So again, it's a complete holistic approach, like you say, systemic. It's never just one thing in isolation. It's many things. So the other thing you said, which is interesting, and people might be wondering, you said that pretty much 75% of cancer can be prevented. Where is the other 25% coming from then?
This a lot will be, like you have many rare diseases, you have mutation, which are ticking bombs in yourself. Some people are lucky this way. And we still don't understand everything else that, happens sometimes. There's a lot to do with epigenetics. There's a lot to do with things we don't understand, like in terms of environmental pollutants, things that can trigger certain things for certain people. Let's bear in mind that in the last 100 years, we completely changed our environment. And what I mean by that, we are living in a real lifetime experiment, pretty much. Like your kids didn't have time to adapt, okay? There's millions of chemicals out there that were not there 100 years ago, but your genes have not changed, right? Environment has changed. So obviously, there's a lot to be done to understand what are the things that are making us unwell, sick, or whatever. A good example, some people think it's a conspiracy theory. Some people think that it will have impact, definitely. I'm quite neutral about it because there's nothing yet proven entirely. But we know that 5G, for example, will definitely have an impact. It has, it's vibration, right? Then there is many of other things. It's just, the certain chemicals we know from, cars or whatever that's out there that affects us, right? So there's many different things that we yet need to understand and really do the research and say, okay, well, yes, this can cause, this mutation or that mutation.
But the problem is a lot of the time that these things that are being brought to us by big industry are not going to be researched for that very reason, that they're bringing in money. So 5G, for example, I do have a very strong belief that 5G is and will cause a lot of health issues. I mean, we do know that EMFs, electromagnetic frequencies, do play havoc with our bodies, and this is kind of where it comes back to, I think, we should do, we have to do what we can, because there is so much out there that we can't control now, that we really have to take control of things we can, because we simply can't expect to eat what we want and live how we want with all the other stuff that we can't control, and then just expect to get to 40 years old and not have cancer. And so for 5G specifically, I very, very much believe that is a big threat to us, and we have to do what we can to campaign against it.
So, it's just to sum up, and not only 5G, but every other things, because there's a lot of them, there's a very long list. But yes, human history really put it clearly that, profit comes first before our conditions. There's no secret with that. So unfortunately, that's the case. And fortunately, you can be proactive about things. And this is how you can change things. And believing that as one individual, you cannot change things is wrong, because, again, there's many proof in history that one individual can change a lot of things. And I do think that, you need to campaign for yourself first, and influence others. And in the sense that, you can be in control of a lot already, and not tilt the balance in your favor to not be sick. And hopefully, things will change over time, right? Technology evolve. There's a lot of research being done. There's a lot of nonsense that start to be questioned a lot. Obviously, I'm not going to go into details and good things. But for example, the research, a huge amount of research coming up for pharmaceutical companies and so things like that, they're all based on very old principles, and it's all about profit. And there's billions and trillions of profits every year from this industry. But nothing is done about communicating well-being, communicating prevention, right? It's about trying to fix things that are totally preventable. So there's obviously something wrong there. But if you can take control for yourself, and now you have the ability, like tools with Omnos, to actually having a really good understanding of what's going on inside your body and what you should be doing about it. And that's the trend. The trend is you have now the ability to, you live at a very exciting time where, technology, science is merging to find amazing things and can be all available at your fingertips. So you should definitely do that. And I think the democratization of health optimization is quite imminent, because there's a real force, there's many driving force of like an awakening movement of people, and COVID is a good example of, okay, you realize, okay, well, 70, I think the latest study is like 85% or something ridiculous of the people who died of COVID were actually people who were very dysfunctional in terms of their health because of bad habits, right? So that tells you something, okay? If you're proactive about your health, you're a much stronger, resilient being, and you're more likely to thrive, okay? And there's no secret about this. And then the technology, beyond being smart about your health, there's also other technologies that are coming up, gene editing and all these things, which can be scary, but if regulated properly, could actually be, lifesavers, and could, maybe the over 25% could be prevented as well, right? But by human intervention, but that will be the long term. It's a lot more promising anyway than what people are trying to do now with the drug industry. Anyway.
Yeah, that's a whole other subject, which could be a whole other podcast episode, but we won't go there because it's very negative. It's very negative, and everyone knows the truth, and everyone knows, I think, that, Big Pharma are not here to help us get better. They're here to make profit, and we have to take responsibility for our own health and take our healthcare into our own hands. And that's what you are essentially giving people the option to do here.
Yes. So I'm working on it's the mission, definitely.
Yeah. So you use the word empowered and equipped, and I think those are great words around what you're offering here. Let's talk about the BRCA gene for a moment, because this has become, and I think it's maybe since Angelina Jolie, brought it to the forefront. It's become kind of a big buzzword in healthcare and genetics, and many women whose mothers have had breast cancer are going to get the test, and if they've got the BRCA gene, they're deciding to go down the route of double mastectomy. Now, we do have on the two sides. So the one side of it, you're saying cancer can take 10 years to develop. But on the other side, on the prevention side, what would you say to someone who has maybe just found out that they've got the BRCA gene, but they don't have cancer?
Not to be alarmed. That's the first thing, right? Not to run to the doctor and ask for double mastectomy. I think what needs to be done, there's things that will influence, this BRCA gene to express hormone imbalance. Okay, there's things like low-grade inflammation. So all toxins again. Okay, so those are very important things that you can control. Okay, so if you have, there's actually a lot of people who have these BRCA genes and never had the cancer because of having the right lifestyle. Okay, and it's not only for BRCA genes, right? We've been talked a lot about it, but one of the actually bigger one is dementia. So Alzheimer, the ApoE gene. So there's another one, ApoE4, which I have. And again, there's a program, and I think there's a brilliant book from Dale Brinston, I think it is, which clinically prove, I think it's from King College, so it's a professor from King College. I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but Dale Brinston has proven through his protocol to reverse and improve the dementia and Alzheimer by lifestyle intervention, right? So this gene is about fat absorptions, oxidative stress. So if you were to eat a lot of saturated fat, if you have this gene, if you were to have a lot of toxins, for example, if you have nutritional imbalances, yes, you're going to be down the route of, having issues with it, and symptoms will be brain fog and stuff like that. But if you already have those symptoms, and actually you go into a more adapted type of keto diet, so still high fat, but the good fat, the saturated fat, the omega-3 is anti-inflammatory. Remove all the inflammatory type of foods, obviously processed food and all these things. And I'm saying keto because it's a very good one for the brain because of high fat, right? But essentially, and I'm going to break the news here, all those diets are pretty much the same. The reason why they all work for someone short term is very simple, and there's no magic. It's just because they're all about removing the crap. I'm sorry for the word, but all of them, if you remove, and it shows that if you remove the inflammatory type of food, if you remove the process and the gluten process, or that make holes in your lining stomach and this sort of thing, and remove inflammation, all of this will work short term to make you better, make you lose weight, and all those things. And then you can actually target certain type of specific foods based on your genetic variant, based on your results from certain tests, nutritional imbalances, so what do you need more, and then really supplements, as the name says, it's supplements, very targeted supplementation strategy, but that comes way at the top of your food pyramid there, if needed, to very specific things. So there's a time and a place for everything. But again, like whether it's BRCA genes, dementia, and all the others, it's lifestyle, diet, and environment, right? So it's not because you have your genes variant being very high risks that you will develop the disease associated to it. Your genes are not your fate. That's something I've wrote probably 100 times in my first book, and I'm repeating it every week since then. But that's a real reality. People need to understand that. But being informed about your genetic makeup will help you to make informed decision and make the changes that really count.
We'll be back to the episode really soon, but first, a quick word from our sponsors, Block Blue Light. So as a busy mum and entrepreneur, there are days where I have to work into the evening, and this means being at my screen way longer than I'd prefer. So a while back, I invested in a pair of blue light blocking glasses. Now, if you've never heard of blue light blocking, let me give you a quick rundown. Natural blue light from the sun boosts our mood and alertness, but technology has meant that we're now exposed to so much artificial blue light from screens, devices, and all modern lighting, and it's really affecting our health. Artificial blue light disrupts our sleep, interferes with our hormones, and causes digital eye strain, which can lead to long-term eye health issues. Now, I've been wearing my blue light blocking glasses for a while, but it was in the second lockdown when I was homeschooling that I decided to get a pair for my 5-year-old to protect him from the amount of screen time that was required for his learning. And he now wears them anytime he's at a screen and if he's watching TV after dark. We got them from Block Blue Light, who are the world's leading supplier of blue and artificial light blocking products. I chose them above some of the other brands because they're dedicated to delivering the world's most optimal and science-backed blue light glasses and blue blocking lighting solutions like light bulbs. Some benefits you might notice instantly are improved sleep, less headaches, less migraines if you suffer from them, less eye strain, and a genuine boost in your well-being as your body adjusts back to its natural circadian rhythms. And let me tell you, since wearing these glasses, it's the first time in his whole 5 years that my son has slept past 7 a.m. And my most recent revelation with Block Blue Light has been their fit over glasses, because I wear glasses for TV and computer and was finding it hard to wear both. But the fit over glasses are designed to slip right over your normal glasses without any heaviness or strain, so you get the best of both worlds. So to check out all of Block Blue Light's incredible health boosting products, including day and nighttime glasses, blue light blocking light bulbs, and 100% light blocking sleep masks to help you into a deeper sleep, visit blockbluelight.co.uk and use the code Lauren10 for a 10% discount. That's blockbluelight.co.uk and use the code Lauren10. Thank you to Block Blue Light. Absolutely. And it gives hope, you know, because I think there's this fear, right? I'll go and get this BRCA gene test. I won't go and get any other gene tests. I'll just get this one and then move into a state of fear. And as we know, fear plays a part in illness and pathology. And then decide to have a double mastectomy and think that that's the end of it. And then after that, carry on living how I was living before and eating all the foods and doing, whereas we can just make these huge changes. And it gives hope that we can actually make those changes ourselves and prevent anything from happening. And I think it's brilliant. And what I would like to know from you is, how can parents benefit from this? Because I'm 37 and I've been in the natural health world for a long time. So I hope my body is in, you know, a good enough state to, please God, be preventing things. Who knows? We never know what can happen. But really, many of us are living these lifestyles. Maybe people are 37 and just hearing about this now and thinking, right, better get on it quickly. But as parents, we can listen to this now, and this can be life-changing for that reason, because we could start implementing these changes in our children's lives. So by the time they're 37, they don't have to worry about rushing into this kind of natural living option. They've already had it implemented. They're already preventing whichever illnesses they might be genetically predisposed to. So what can parents do, and how can parents use this platform and this information?
Yeah, so actually, it's a very good point, because we are slowly developing family planning with the platform. But for now, it's quite simple in the sense that the way I see it is the long term, and that's actually the title of my next book, Smart Health, which is a real health architecture that works for you in the background and based on technology, artificial intelligence, connected hardware, and all these things, right? Because all those technology are there, but we're not using them. And for family, it's very easy for you via like the platform here from the phone, or you have an iPad at home or whatever, to have the optimal sort of shopping list for the whole family based on your results. So already within our shopping list, for example, myself, I will have on things to do, like let's say things like anchovies, salmon, you know, because I need to reduce inflammation, because I have those inflammation genes, and I have also certain variants that shows that I have a bit of inflammation from somewhere, and things I should avoid as food, for example, would be tuna, because I have my mercury ratio being very high, something I found out. I'm actually in the process of removing mercury feeding that I completely forgot I had, because back then, I don't know. But somehow they are causing trouble. They're depleting me of my zinc, they're depleting me of my selenium, which are very important immunity antioxidant. And what's happening because of that, I need to have the food that are rich in zinc, rich in antioxidant, and removing inflammation, and food that remove toxins, because I always have a bit of toxin from those heavy metals and stuff in my body. So already I know what type of food works for me as a planning in my body, right? That's the food for me. And then you have the same for my partner, let's say, and my son. Funny enough, both of us are dairy intolerant and quite expressing it. And my son, as soon as, he's only 2.5, but we know that he is as well, because we definitely feel or smell the reaction. So, we know that. So at home, for example, there's very little dairy. I don't want to cut it completely because, but there's, for him, there's maybe a tiny bit, for us, no. But so we understand. So you start to having this map, and then with all of those ingredients and the things we should do and should to avoid, what can we do with that? So that's shopping sorted, recipes, and actually the platform does all this. And then you have, each individual, what can you do to help someone based on what they are doing now, right? So you might be a bit, let's say, I'm saying you right now, maybe you're a bit more active than your husband, or the opposite. So maybe he needs to have a bit more of that, or a bit more of this, So, and then you sort of have technology that also can help, okay? So based on certain things like this, for example, that track your sleep. If you haven't slept well, we link that to the thing, and the data told us, well, actually, your sleep was very bad. Your HRV, which is your heart rate variability, was much lower than usual. Today, you should take it easy, okay? Today, instead of going for your workout, you should maybe go for a sauna and a massage, right? So, if you can. So that's then personalized planning of your day. And then again, you try to meet with the family on what you can do. And then if you go beyond that with linking hardware, we could do personalized supplementation strategy during the day. You could, I'm not going to go too futuristic, but I'm talking a lot about in my upcoming book on things that I'm starting slowly to develop. But we are, again, at a very exciting time where we have became a cascade of data of what you do every day you are. But before, we just accumulate all those data, the Fitbit, blah, blah, great. But data are just data in the sense that if you don't connect the dot between them, it doesn't lead you anywhere, right? So if you have plenty of dots and you don't connect them, you don't go anywhere, it's just the dots. But now we start to understand not only how to connect the dots, the interaction between things. And a platform like Omnos will also give context to it, right? So then you can really create, based on those data, an orchestra of machine learning / hardware / everything you want, working on the behind you to optimize the family lifestyle. Yeah, so this is the exciting time we have right now. You could, within 5 years, have really systems that works on your behalf to really well orchestrated systems, but actually prepare things for you almost. Or this is where you should be eating today. This is where you should be shopping. This is what you.
Wow. I mean, it sounds like something out of some, futuristic movie, but it's, and I'm always wary of all these kind of futuristic options because it seems like it's taking our control away from us. But to have something like that says, right now, based on what I'm seeing in your health, you need to eat this today. This is the exercise you need to do today. You need to rest today. Put this on your shopping list. Like, it's just amazing. It's revolutionary.
So if I were to go somewhere like Planet Organic, for example, now, and with my phone, something we're planning doing on Omnos, with my phone, I could actually look at items and it could give me a score. So as I said, if I look at anchovies, it will be a 95% score, or dark chocolate, because I'm low on magnesium, and dark chocolate is very high in magnesium.
And wouldn't it be great for someone to give us an excuse to eat chocolate?
Exactly. So if we're pointing at tuna, it will give me, a 20% score. And it will give me all the reason why. And actually, you could have this talking you through it through your headphones. So it's the reason why. It's educating you on this as well. And those things are dynamic. Because if I actually, right now, having all the infrared sauna to remove all those heavy metals and the right supplements, certain very specific supplements that I have, and supporting my detoxification pathways, well, in 3 months, 6 months time, hopefully, I won't have all this. So I could again eat tuna again. So that's the idea, is to really have this dynamic system that works behind you for you, in a very sort of orchestrated manner, without you having to do much, really. And that's how you live with a benefit in a beneficial way with technology, instead of flicking our phone and depleting ourselves of our dopamines halfway.
If only we could just find a way to do it without Wi-Fi and all those EMFs, though.
Well, probably, like, we'll find solutions to bar this and to change, EMF and make it less dangerous.
I hope that happens. The last question I want to ask you before we start to wrap up is, the system is brilliantly planned out, extremely user-friendly. And really, for anyone who's listening who is maybe daunted by all this information, once you're on the platform, it's not daunting at all. It really is created for the everyday person who doesn't have an understanding of genes or genetics. It's very, very simple. It's also very affordable. And friends of mine have asked me, why are the prices so competitive when other genetic tests are so expensive? And I'd love you to answer that for me.
That's part of the mission, in the sense that, again, the mission is really for me to democratize the science behind health, right? And obviously trying to make functional medicine more functional, in a sense that right now is not so much functional. Let's face it, you need to have the current model before Omnos is you go somewhere like Harley Street and you need to have a minimum of 2 to 3K disposable income on, to give to someone to help you to do fewer post tests, not all, right? That's the reality. And obviously that's not many people that can do that, especially in this current context. And that's not how you change things for the long term. There's a way of doing things. It's always the same way. And I think you can change a lot of things in the society like this. If you manage to prove by, trying to be a lot less profitable as a business, which is not really what investors want to hear, obviously, but you always find impact investors or people believe in your mission because they believe themselves, they've been through the same journey, or, so. But if you then have 10,000 people doing this, you have a pattern, because you can prove that, hey, 10,000 people have done this test and actually have been proactive and engaged towards optimizing their health. And they saved, I don't know how many millions to the NHS. So then you can start to have very interesting talk with authorities, public services, saying, hey, we just saved you that many money. Why don't you help us to do those tests in-house, the public sector, which then it's another level of making it a lot more accessible. And then it could be even paid for by the NHS or by your insurance, because actually it's a lot cheaper also for an insurance or for the NHS to prevent than to cure, right? So this is how I think the idea is of trying to democratize all this. And I'm quite confident that, I hope, if everything works, and that's our mission, but in 10 years' time, all those tests will be for pretty much nothing. Something you will buy, but then if everybody does it, it's more, as a business, we would see this as more as, helping people and doing transactional fee or whatever. But I think the overall game is trying to make all those tests accessible for everyone, but also effective to anyone. Because right now, if you do those tests, it's very expensive, and then you need someone to translate you to them. And that's a shame, because that's your health. You need to understand it, what's going on, right? So that's what we're trying to achieve.
I did just think of one other question that I had been asked about this, which is, how are the data stored? Where are people's DNA stored?
Yeah, so that's also a very interesting thing, because right now, you don't really own your data anywhere. With us, it's all about data ownership. And if you were to go into your settings already in the platform, you can delete, ask for your data, delete them at any time. And the reason why we're doing that is because I really believe that health data are one of the fastest growing commodity, okay? Because it's a very fast growing commodity. It's probably going to be more than gold at some point. And the more data, the better. What it means is, if you own your data, you could also potentially be rewarded by sharing them. And you choose not only who to share it with who, right? But let me give you an example. And that's also something that I'm very pleased of what our technology does, again, because it connects the dots. Let's say we know that someone has those APOE genes, right? So predisposed to things like dementia. Let's say that there's 10,000 people that have those genes on our platform ecosystem. It's all hypothetical, right? But we have then 10,000 of those people have mentioned brain fog, okay? 10,000 of those same people have also low on lithium, something that is also very important for brain health. And all those people also happen to have the same parasite, but that we don't see why. And then you investigate, and then you realize, wow, okay, so if you have this parasite, it's actually feeding on lithium, right? So, okay, so that means that if you have this parasite and you have all those other conditions, you're increasing your chances of Alzheimer by 30%. Again, this is all hypothetical. But if you want, we will highlight this and you want to share your data, you could be paid, because this is enough for us to go and see universities like, hey, look at this. University like Edinburgh University, which we have some sort of involvement with, we have very serious people in our advisory board. If they were to knock on the public services for a grant to investigate this, they could get a grant and they would do the research and then you'd be paid for it, because that's your data, right? So then you accept to share those data and you should be paid for it. And that's what I love about it, because this is collective learning and you're being rewarded to participate at making things better for others, right? And this is how the system should work. This is how, democratizing health should be. It's all about participating economy, trying to participate on making things better for yourself and first, and also all the others at the same time.
Brilliant. So it's all about kind of serving the collective, which is just lovely. Amazing. Thomas, thank you so much. As you know, at the end, I do a thing called All About You. I'm going to ask you a series of quick fire questions. So just answer in one word or one sentence answers. And some of them are serious and some of them are fun. Just go with it. Okay. If you could convince everyone to make one health change today, what would it be?
Look at the sunrise or sunset.
Wow. I wasn't expecting that. That's a nice one. Okay. Because we get the most vitamin D at sunrise, right?
Well, because light, we forgot about it, but light regulates everything in our brain.
Yeah.
Hormones, everything, melatonin, which regulates other things. And, quick thing, like, it's supposed to be a quick answer, but one of the main reasons why we are so getting more unhealthy is this disconnection, ever-growing disconnection we have with our natural environment. We are natural beings. So, watching sunrise, sunset, sunlight during the day, definitely.
Brilliant. The biggest health lie we've ever been told?
Diet.
Elaborate slightly.
Diet, there's hundreds of them. And the only one...
Oh, diet. So you mean diet culture?
Yeah, diet culture, definitely.
Okay. What do you personally find hard to give up despite knowing that your genes don't need it?
Dairies, cheese.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But if I go and visit my parents, it's just not happening.
In France, yeah, you've got to eat cheese in France. One thing parenthood has taught you that you never expected?
Living in the now.
Beautiful. And lastly, what was the biggest challenge in creating and growing the business?
Perseverance.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a good one. Amazing. Okay, Thomas, thank you so much. We will obviously link all the details to Omnos in the show notes. Thomas has also kindly given us a discount for any listeners of the Reconditioned podcast. So head over to the show notes to get that discount code that you can use at omnos.me. And where else can they find you? Instagram, social media?
Instagram, so omnos.me. We post there. I post there every day, always good content. And simply signing up omnos.me, and the whole sign-up process is free, and you already get your wellness score by answering all the questions, and already tips on things to do, things to avoid based on your answer. And I think it's very valuable as a free tool before even testing, because it could already help, a lot. And this is the feedback we have actually. Just the questionnaire is very powerful.
Beautiful. Okay, well, thank you so much, and maybe we'll have you back soon and see how it's all developing and how it's all going.
With pleasure.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Thomas. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you so much for choosing to listen to Reconditioned today. I'd be so grateful if you could subscribe and maybe even leave a review if you enjoyed this episode. And better still, if you could share with friends and family who could benefit from the content, that's what I'd really love. I just want us to share the love so that everyone can understand how to use an integrative approach to life and health. For more free resources, visit laurenvaknine.co.uk and laurenvakninecoaching.com.